Hello, my name is Kaylee. Today we will be doing graphing number 2, part 2, line graphs. Make sure you've already watched the video graphing 2, part 1, bar graphs. This is the second series in the graphing 2 videos. In part 1 of the Graphing 2 videos, we went over quantitative questions, or questions about numbers. In this video, we'll be going over qualitative questions. Remember, those ones are about patterns or how things change. So for a review, remember qualitative questions ask things like, did it get bigger? Did it get smaller? Was there improvement? Or how did it change? So let's think about our qualitative question. Let's figure out if you get better at playing soccer by going to more practices. We will use this table to keep track of how many goals you score after going to 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 10 practices. We will keep track of how many goals you score at the game after going to each number of practices, and we'll keep track in the numbers of goals scored column. The number of goals scored will be our data. Now let's go to practice and see how many goals you can score after each one. So far, you've gone to 1 practice, but you didn't score any goals after that game. And after 2 practices, you still haven't scored a goal, but don't give up yet. Woohoo! 3 practices and you scored a goal. Do you think that you're going to keep getting better? Let's fast forward in time. Let's say you've already gone to all 10 practices, so you've scored some goals. But do you think that overall you got better at soccer after going to all 10 practices? Now it's time to remember that we're asking a qualitative question. We're looking for a pattern, something that's also called a trend. But looking at this table, it's difficult to notice if there's a pattern or a trend. It just looks like a lot of numbers. But let's graph it. Like this. Or like this. Do you see the difference? These are called line graphs, but line graphs can have different looking lines, but they do have the same parts. The x-axis, which is where the yellow arrows are pointing, and the x-axis tells us something that we already know about. For us, the thing we already know about is the number of practice you went to. We know that there is 10. But the line graph also has a y-axis. That's what the blue arrows are pointing to. And the y-axis will tell us our data, or the thing that we're looking for. For us, that's the number of goals you scored after going to the 10 practices. We kept track in that column. Now, let's focus on the trends of these lines. So for the green line, you can see that it goes up, how the green arrow points up. And this means that the trend got bigger or better over time. And this is how our graph will look if we got better at soccer. But the purple line, it points down. See how the purple arrow is pointing down? So if our graph looks like the purple line, then that means that we would have gotten worse at soccer as we went to more practices. But let's draw our own graph. We'll put the number of soccer practices on the x-axis and the number of goals that we scored on the y-axis. So there's our data. There's our graph based on our table. And we can see where we scored 0 goals after going to practice 1 and 2. Those are the low part of our line, the kind that stay right on the axis. But after 10 practices, we scored all the way up to 4 goals, and that was our highest scoring game and the highest point on our graph. So overall, our line points up. The trend is positive. That means that we scored more goals after going to more practices. And overall, we got better at soccer. And great job. You answered a qualitative question with a line graph.
Hey, hey!